Framed, Part 9, Section B. It was a game for the scrapbook. We played five-a-side, but the ground was so rocky and bumpy it was like there were 100 invisible players on the pitch. You'd lay off a nice long pass to someone, and suddenly the ball would turn round and come back to you, or it would veer off to the left all of a sudden, and you'd have to go after it again. It was extreme football. It felt like we were playing against the mountain. It was completely hectic, and we lost 5-3. I hit one ball that would have been a textbook goal if it had just gone in. I did Team Hughes proud. Afterwards, one of them got me a can of Sprite, and we all sat on a rock and watched the sun go down. The moment it dipped behind Blerno Mountain, all the cloud in the valley turned hazard light red, as if someone had thrown on a switch. And a voice behind me said, "Pure Turner, almost makes it worth being in Wales, a sunset like that." It was Lester. I looked around. He was very surprised to see me. "How on earth did you get up here?" he said. One of the men explained that I walked up. "You walked all the way up here?" He made it sound like I walked to the moon. "We wondered if you'd like some cakes." "What?" "I've got a list here." I passed him the menu, but he passed it on to the man who asked me if I wanted a game. "We have our own caterers. We don't need anything." The football man said, "If he's walked up all this way, though..." Lester was already shoving me towards the Technodrome, saying, "I know what you really came up for." The man shouted after me, "I'll pin this up on the canteen wall then." "Yes, yes," said Lester, not looking back and not slowing down. I didn't mind. I was interested to see the inside of the dome, and if he asked me about Michelangelo again, that was fine. I'd know the answer. Probably. The dome was disappointing inside. It was full of computers and phones and chairs, like a proper HQ. But it didn't have a massive screen on the wall showing you satellite pictures of your enemies or any Mauser robots or a secret store of mutagen. Just a man in a white shirt talking on the phone. In the corner there was an easel with painting on it, and a light shining on the painting. Lester said to the man, "This is the boy I was telling you about, the one with the eye. He's walked up here. Would you believe, walked? Like Raphael. Did you know that Raphael walked from Urbino to Rome just to see Michelangelo's drawings?" The one with the eye. I was starting to like the sound of that. I walked over to the painting. I imagined myself saying, "Ah, yes, the Sistine Chapel," or "No one celebrates the beauty of the human form like Michelangelo." But when I got there, I froze. This picture was different. Whatever it was of, it wasn't the human form, and I had a nasty feeling it wasn't Michelangelo either. It was a whole picture of nothing but fruit and stuff and some nuts. They looked really real, but they were just, well, shopping. It might have been an advert, except who would do an advert for nuts? Lester was on the phone talking to Tom. "Yes, he's up here now. He's walked the whole way. I can't let him walk down. It'll be dark, and I can't really spare a driver to take him down. Could you possibly come and collect him?" "You could? Marvellous." I thought, yes, and make it quick. I mean, nuts. What are you supposed to say about nuts? Lester came and stood behind me and started telling me about how even though the National Gallery is closed, owing to insurance problems, they had decided to show one painting a week in a special room there. Things are quite difficult in London at the moment, so the idea is to send paintings that are uplifting or morale boosting. What do you think? Will this do the trick? I was trying to imagine how difficult things would have been before you could be uplifted by a nut. Not even a real nut, a picture of a nut. Then I remembered that Dad was in London, and I wondered if he was having a difficult time. I sort of forgot that Lester was there for a minute. I must have looked a bit weird because he asked me if I was feeling alright. I didn't want to tell him about Dad, but I didn't know what else to say. Luckily, just then, the man from the football game came in. "You should take a look at this," he said, and he handed Lester the cake menu. Lester started reading, then he started smiling, and then he started laughing. "Did you do this?" he asked. This was my chance. I could say, "No, it was my sister," and it would all come out about her being the clever one in all being a really big mix-up. But before I could say a word, Lester said, "Too modest. Who else could it be?" Then he said, "Well, I think we'll take some of these cakes, shall we?" Will you really? That's brilliant." "Yes, why not?" He looked at the menu again. "Who would ever thought it? You really live and breathe art, don't you?" "Well," I said, "I try, you know." He pointed to the picture and said, "The Melendez. You probably already know the story." What should I say now? If I said no, I might sound daft. If I said yes, he might test me on it. So I kept staring at the picture. He said, "Oh, sorry, you haven't seen it in the flesh before. This must be a special moment for you." and he backed off and sat at his desk, and I was trapped. If I stopped looking at the picture, he was bound to start asking me questions. So I had to carry on looking at it. I just stood there, looking and looking. The nuts didn't get any more interesting, but I did start to need the toilet. I tried to hold on. I tried not to think about it, but I ended up bouncing up and down on my toes. When Tom came in, Lester shushed him and pointed to me. "Been like that for half an hour," he said. "His powers of concentration are completely extraordinary. I've never seen anything like him." Then he said to me, "Dylan, are you ready to pronounce judgment?" I said, "I need a wee," and ran outside. When I came back in, Lester was still talking about me. Utterly absorbed. He even forgot his own bladder while he was standing there. "Nice picture this though," said Tom. He was staring at it quite closely, as if he was trying to pick the best nut. "Yes, poor Melendez. He was quite brilliant, as you can see, but because of the politics at the time, he was flung out of court. He wanted to paint great pictures, battle scenes and so on, but of course such things are expensive. You need lots of paint and lots of time. Because he's argued with the king, he couldn't find a patron to pay for him to do the work. So that was it. He was stuck. He just painted whatever was to hand, usually food, still lives." "I'd rather look at this than a battle any day," said Tom. I nearly said, "You should try spending half an hour looking at it, mate." You'd wish it was a battle then. He was still looking at the picture, like he really liked it. "Do you know the story of Proust and the still lifes?" said Lester. I wasn't going to get caught again this time. I said, "No." "Well, a friend came to see Proust, a middle-aged man, who said he was bored with his life, and that he needed excitement and beauty. Proust told him to go and look at some still lifes like this one, and we would teach him that there was beauty in the most boring places, in the pots and pans in his own kitchen." Tom was still staring at the picture. "Are they oranges?" he said. "Yes, oranges and a melon, and of course walnuts. We can speculate about what's in the boxes, but I imagine. I've never seen oranges with the twiggy bit sticking out the top before. I mean, I knew they grew on trees, but I've never seen, the attachment." "Right," said Lester, "and they look perfectly ripe, just right to eat. But you can also somehow tell that they won't last long. As I said before, a moment of beauty rescued from decay." He looked across at me. "Well, perhaps you should paint a picture, Dylan. A picture that would show us the hidden beauty of manners." I was so shocked I forgot to be polite. I blurted out, "Manners' beauty is not hidden. Manners' lovely. Anyone can see that." "Actually, not everyone can see that. It takes someone special to see the beauty in a place like this." "No, it doesn't. Anyone can see it. Tell him, Tom." "Oh yes, Manners one shell of a town." Tom didn't really want to go. He wanted to carry on looking at the nuts. I walked out, climbed into the Wrangler, and banged on the horn until he came. All the way down the mountain I kept thinking, how could anyone be so wrong about Manners? Even as I was thinking about it, we turned the bend, and you could see the town snuggled up in the valley. The wet slate roofs were shining blue, and there were little spindles of blue smoke rising up from all the chimneys. I said, how could he say such a thing? How could he even think it? But what I was thinking was, poor Dad. I mean, what's a picture of nuts compared to an inside-out mountain? Then I saw my ball, the one I'd dropped earlier, stuck between two big rocks. Tom let me out to collect it. Mum came to open the gate. She didn't look too happy. Before we'd even parked, she was going, "Where do you think you've been?" and so on. When we got into the shop, the girls even joined in. I waited till they'd all finished, then I told them about the cake order. "Immense," said Marie. "Legend," said Minnie. "How many?" said Marie. "Which kind?" said Minnie. Admittedly, I probably should have known the answer to the last two questions, but it was all right in the end, because on Monday a van came down, and when Tom opened the gate for it, the driver gave him a proper written order. I said, "Let's see it then." He gave me the paper and said, "I was talking to the driver. He's taking the picture off to London." Right. The paper was an order for a dozen crispy chopped constables and a Picasso pie. As I said at the time, cowabunga. Tom just stood there watching the van go off down the valley. Lester was in the passenger seat. He gave us a wave. Tom said, "It's gone now. Gone to London. We'll never see it again, most likely." "What's that then, Tom?" "The picture, Dylan. The one with the nuts." It was the oranges that really got me. Right. Everything's always changing, isn't it? Even the mountain is changing. Every second of every day, we get a minute older. I thought about this for a while. Then I said, "I'm not sure that's quite exactly right, Tom, but I know what you mean.